it's no secret violence along the border has claimed thousands of lives. The Zetas and Gulf cartels are fighting over territory along the South Texas and Mexico border.
Tonight in a special report, Andy Liscano takes us to Zapata County, about 170 miles southwest of Corpus Christi, where the sheriff there says the fight to stop the violence from coming here is not working. But first, a warning, some of the images in the story are a bit disturbing.
This is another incident here in Zapata.
This is how Zapata County Sheriff Sigifredo Gonzales keeps track of the cartels. He monitors these online websites that show him the brutality of the drug war. Burned out vehicles, dead bodies on the road, some of them decapitated. An apparent ambush in the Mexican border town of Reynosa by drug cartels. He says there are 2 websites filled with images just like this. He also estimates there have been 50,000 drug cartel-related deaths in border towns on both sides in just the last 5 years.
The border is not the same anymore. It's just not the same anymore. It's not going to stop until this country says, we've had it, it's enough.
This is what it's all about. Marijuana and other illegal drugs like cocaine and heroin are in demand in this country. People are willing to pay a lot of money for them. Then there's the ongoing problem with people coming into the U.S. illegally. Like this man who says he left Mexico because he fears for his life. He says his cousin was murdered in Mexico during a crossfire between drug cartels. Gonzales says many of those illegals are also committing crimes in this country, contributing to what he calls spillover violence.
That we end up having to investigate. We end up having the drownings in the river. We end up having the home invasions, the extortions, the carjackings, the kidnappings. Now, does the federal government get involved in those investigations? Of course not. So I call that spillover violence. And I said spillover violence. I said a bad word. Spillover to the politicians in the border is a bad word.
Nueces County Sheriff Jim Kalin says the boundaries of that spillover violence have extended to the coastal bend.
We know it's coming. It's already here. But the level of violence is slowly being ratcheted up.
Here's the reason. Drug traffickers coming from Highway 16 are going through Hebronville, Valfurias, and Highway 77 to get through to Victoria, which is one of their main distribution points. Sheriff Gonzales claims trafficking has become easier.
The sheriff says what makes law enforcement's job more difficult is intelligence. Cartels are using that intelligence to keep track of where law enforcement is pretty much at all times and allowing them to stay a step ahead.
Gonzales claims the cartels are using these Russian-made helicopters to cross the border to gather intelligence in this country. The helicopters fly low, undetected by radar here in the U.S., then fly back. Gonzales believes members of Mexico's notorious Zeta cartel were members of the Mexican military special forces, trained by U.S. military special forces in wiretapping, explosives, lockpicking, surveillance, and counter-surveillance.
So they know where we live. They know what we do. They know what vehicles we drive. They know everything. There's nothing to hide.
And that's why, Gonzales says, it's become more difficult for local law enforcement agencies to fight the war on drugs. Andy Liscano, Action 10 News, Zapata County.
Bailouts and drug arrests are on the rise across South Texas, and tomorrow local sheriffs tell our Andy Liscano why they think it's related to the violence along the border.